Okay, so today we're going to talk about games and techniques for community vocabulary practice. Last time I had a very weird feeling because the presentation was in English, but I was speaking Russian. And today, to avoid this double speak and double think, I hope you don't mind if I do it in English so that we have a chance to chat a little bit. Okay. Now, when I was trying to put together this collection of activities, I followed the following criteria. First of all, I wanted to collect materials which require no preparation or very little preparation that can be done under 5 minutes, so that if you use them to develop lessons, you will be able to use them at your fingertips. Then I was thinking of the games which would work well with Skyeng lessons, because of course there are many more activities which can be used in the classroom. But I was thinking particularly about our lessons and our frameworks. All of these activities are suitable for individual and for group online lessons. And I wanted to choose and use the materials which would be suitable or that could be easily adapted for different ages without losing relevance, because sometimes an activity may sound too childish to an adult learner. So I didn't use any of those. I used only the ones which can be used for different ages and different levels. And if the activity is related to grammar as well as to vocabulary, it should still leave enough space for vocabulary focus and practice. So let's take a look. I hope we're not going to take too long because I have only 16 games and activities today. This is fewer than I used to. And we have a meeting at 4 p.m. That's why I have to hurry. So here are some of the activities. This one is probably the easiest one. It can be used with beginners or false beginners, and it is called the yes game. And that's how you play it. Your students need to ask the teacher questions to which the teacher may truthfully answer yes. For example, are you Russian, or are you sitting down, or have you got a pet? And of course, the students will not know some of the answers. That's why if the teacher answers yes, the student gets 1 point for this question. If the teacher says no, the student doesn't get a point. And you can cover the following lexical areas with this exercise. Things like nationalities, because you ask where the students are, where the teacher is, like now whether the teacher is Russian, British, I don't know, Ukrainian, Belarusian, Kazakh, or whatever. You can cover things like you can talk about habits, daily routine, like, do you normally have breakfast? Pets, do you have a pet? Household objects, do you have a walk-in closet? Something like that, belongings, etc. So that's a very easy game to play, and this is a great time filler. And at the same time, it makes the students use everyday vocabulary and still think about grammar. The next game is the opposite of the yes game, because here you need to construct negative sentences. And this is a great game because it shows beginner students that they can already say a lot, even if they don't know a lot of words. And that's how you play it. You ask the students to form as many negative sentences as he or she can. And then you give a point for each correct negative sentence. And here you pay attention not only to grammar correctness, but so you make sure that the sentences are not only grammatical, but that they're written.
Да, у меня тоже Алексей пропал.
Okay, can you hear me?
Sorry. Yeah, we couldn't hear you for a while.
Okay. My connection was unstable. So I'll go back for a second. So in this exercise, you focus not only on grammatical correctness, so the sentences need to be not only grammatically correct, but also lexically correct. And they can be very, very simple. Like, for example, a student shows you an object and says, this is not red. Or for more advanced students, you can talk about abstract ideas, but mostly this exercise is suitable for beginners or for false beginners, for that matter. And then there's a Okay, can you hear me now? I'm very sorry about this. I lost the connection and had to reconnect. So we're going back to the presentation. Really sorry about that. I don't know why my computer keeps doing this. Okay, so the combination of both games, the yes-no game, and that's how you play it. Now, this time, the students are not allowed to say yes or no, and they cannot repeat their responses. In this way, you focus on communication strategies and elicit longer answers and providing details. So let's practice this a little bit. I'd like you to try and answer the very simple questions, okay? But you are not allowed to say yes or to say no. And if you've given an answer, or if somebody else has given an answer, you are not allowed to repeat it. So who can answer this very simple question? Did you have eggs for breakfast today? Okay, I'm so sorry. I keep getting lost and coming back again. Right, can you hear me? Okay, so let's practice this game. Once again, you are not allowed to say yes or no, and you're not allowed to repeat somebody else's or your own answers. So who could answer this very, very simple question? Did you have eggs for breakfast today? So Jana, could you answer that, please? I know you can. I don't know about your breakfast, but I'm sure you can answer this question.
Yeah, sure I had.
Okay, sure I had. Any other versions? How about Daria?
I don't usually eat eggs for breakfast.
Okay, well done. Can somebody else try to answer it, please? Okay, I see Victoria was trying to connect, to turn her sound on.
Yeah, I have problems with the sound, sorry.
Okay, that's okay, but we can hear you. So could you try to answer this question, please, without saying yes or no? Did you have eggs for breakfast?
Certainly.
Okay, so you see, here we give a variety of answers, and the more questions you ask, the more difficult it becomes for the student to answer those simple questions. Because, for example, if I ask you the next question, like, is J.K. Rowling your favorite author? And if you happen to like her, you cannot say certainly, because that would be a repetition. You would have to use a different word. Or you could not probably say something like, I don't normally read books by J.K. Rowling. You would have to find some other ways. So basically, in this way, you can program the students. Well, it's more difficult to actually program to use particular vocabulary, to use specific words. But the focus is on communication strategies, and the students will have to think of some more words to use. Okay. Has the connection gone off again? Oh, no,
Yeah.
that's okay, because for some reason, it seemed that the connection stopped. Just a moment. Why do I seem to have this problem today? I hope I'm the only one who has it. Just a second, I'm going to start screencasting again. Sorry about that. There we go. Just a moment. I'm very sorry. That's the joy and the problem of online learning. Okay, the next game is the so-called Guess the Photo game. It helps the students to learn to practice naming objects, to develop analytical thinking, and to revise vocabulary. And that's how you do it. All you need is some printed or electronic photos. When I say printed, it means that you can show them on your screen. And the photos need to be related to the topics that you have been studying. So you start by showing the students a tiny part of the picture, like a small bit, something like this. I'm only using a writing pad. So the student's task is to guess or to recognize what the picture is and to name the object. And the first student to correctly name the object gets a point. And if you use several pictures, the student with most points wins. That's if you're given a group lesson. With individual students, you can count the time, like how quickly the student names the object. Another option is this. You can put up several photos on the screen and you ask one student, or you can ask this student, if that's a one-to-one lesson, to choose a photo, but not tell others which photo it is. Then you ask the student questions to guess the photo, or alternatively, you guess the photo, you think of a photo, and the student needs to ask questions to find out what photo it is. So in this way, you can program what objects the student is going to use, what words he's going to use, and so on. Okay. Another game. What was in the picture? And that's another thing we're going to play. This is basically a memory game. So the students don't realize that, in fact, they're practicing vocabulary. So what you do is you show the student a picture with several objects in it only for 5 seconds. And then you ask questions like what was in the picture, how many objects there were, and so on. Are you ready to try this memory game?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to show you the picture. We're going to look at it for 5 seconds, and then I'll return to this slide, and we'll try to say all together what was there in the picture, how many objects there were, and so on. I will ask you questions to help, if that is going to help. Okay, so we're counting the seconds. We're going back. So, what was there in the picture? Who can name any objects?
Drawers.
Okay, there were doors. What else was there?
Sofa.
A sofa. Okay, what was there on the sofa?
Four pillows. Cushions.
Pillows or cushions. Okay, and how many were there?
4.
4. That's right. And what color was the sofa?
White.
Was it white?
Blue. It was blue.
Yes, it was blue. That's right. So you see, it already grows in difficulty. And has anyone noticed the material of the sofa? What it was, whether it was made from fabric, whether it was leather, whether it was something else?
That was fabric, I suppose.
Yes, it was fabric. It was velvety. Okay. What else was there in the picture?
Flowers.
Flowers. Okay. Were they in a vase? Or
Yes,
were they in
were.
flower pots?
In vases.
In vases. All right. What else was there?
A picture. Yeah.
A picture. Okay. Anything else?
Lamps.
Lamps. And how many lamps were there?
2.
2? Okay, probably. I don't remember, frankly speaking. But this is the joy of this game. You don't need to remember anything, because when you run out of questions, you go back to the picture and then you check yourself. Okay, we can go on and on with this exercise, but let's check ourselves. So, two lamps, a jar with flowers. So it wasn't a vase. Oh yes, there was another jar. So it wasn't really a vase. It was a jar used as a vase. Okay, a blue sofa, an armchair, 4 cushions on the sofa, and 1 big cushion on the armchair, and so on. And there were pictures. So this is a very simple game. It's easy to arrange. All you need is a photograph, and it can be a random photograph. It can be a photo of picture of animals, a photo of people, a photo of some other objects. The only thing is that you need to have more than one object. Do you like this game, by the way? Do you ever play with your students? Okay, that's great. Another guess. Now this is a guessing game, and you teach your student how to describe something. But this is for lower level. This is a good game for lower level students, because this is the teacher who describes something here. Like, for example, you can say, "What do I have? It's a fruit. It's yellow. It's sour. What is it?"
Lemon. Lemon.
Yes, that's a lemon, and you can show a lemon if you have it. Or, for example, it's an animal, it jumps, it doesn't have teeth. So what could it be?
It's a frog?
Yes, it's a frog, and the teeth is the key word here. So that's another thing that you can play. So, for example, if you develop a lesson, we can use it as in the "you can also say" section, and that could be very easy. Another guessing game is this. This is slightly more difficult, but at the same time, we would still be able to provide descriptions for our teachers. You can use 5 words relating to the recent conversational themes, and you can write a set of clues to help the students guess the word. Like, for example, if the word is freedom, you can write words like clues like "I'm a noun, but I'm very important. I begin with the letter F." And you don't have to show all the clues at the same time. You can show them one by one, adding to each other, so that the student will have some time to think and will have the sense of accomplishment when he or she guesses the word without seeing all the clues. So it begins with letter F. People in prison have lost it, want it back. People demand it when it is taken away by dictators. It can be related to speech, something which is quite a commonplace thing today, I'm afraid. And we could also use a description game. We need to write names of different objects. We can either use cards, if you have cards on the screen, or we can just write some words on the chat or a list of words on the screen. And if you're working with a group of students, they each pick an object and write or say 5 descriptive sentences about the object without naming it. And the description should be as detailed as possible. So basically here we focus on descriptive vocabulary. If this is a one-to-one class, the student picks one object and tries to describe it, but we need to use a word bank to help the student. And then the student reads aloud their description so that either the teacher or the partner can guess what it is. A word bank can look anything like this. It is categorized, like, words that describe color, words that describe shape, words that describe sound. So very obvious, something very easy. But if you look at the words, they're not easy at all. Frankly speaking, every time I look at the word, which translates into Russian as yashma, it always makes me think of what is the correct pronunciation of this word. I don't know whether you remember how to pronounce it, but I always feel at a loss for some reason. Then I recall the pronunciation, but then I start doubting again. And I particularly like the column with the words that describe sound, because you can also say this object can make this sound. And this is something which the students don't use often. And frankly speaking, we don't use that very often either. At least I don't. I don't know about you. Another exercise is an adverb game, and that's how you can do it in a one-to-one online class. You can ask the student to do something in a certain way. So you give the adverb, and the student needs to do something that can be easily seen and and that is not physically demanding. Like, open the door, close the door if you can see the door behind the student's back, or open the window, something like that. And you can use all sorts of adverbs, like, you can ask the student to open the door anxiously. If there is no door in the view, you can ask the student to mimic it or to mime this thing. Could you please try and mime how you would open the door anxiously? So it turns into something like an physical relaxation time, and at the same time into an acting class. Like, so you open the door and you look there very, very anxiously. Only, like, when I was doing that, I was thinking, like, it should look anxious, not stupid. But that depends on the acting ability. Or alternatively, you can put up a list of adverbs and then the student choose the adverb, and then the student does something. They decide what they do, like, they can toss a pen or whatever. And then the teacher needs to decide, to guess how they're doing this. But so unfortunately, this is not a very precise game, but that's a lot of fun. Another thing, which is very, very simple, is, and it works fine with the lower level students, is when you ask the students to get something from their actual rooms. Like, get something blue, and they say, oh, here it is. That's the tip of the pen. Or you can say, like, get something orange. Oh, here it is. Get something square, and they need to look for a square object. Or get something the size of your head, and they need to think of something and try to find it. If they cannot find it, they can at least explain what they were thinking about. So it is more a recognition game rather than asking the students to produce the vocabulary. But that's a good practice as well. And you can always ask them to name the object or to describe the object once they've got it. A game which helps the students to train their memories and at the same time memorize particular words is the so-called disappearing text. Do you ever use disappearing text? That's when the students see a text, they read it aloud, and then you delete one word, and the student reads the text again and tries to use that word, substitutes for the blank. And then you delete another word, the student reads the text again. So it's a long work, but at the same time, it really helps the students to memorize short text like poems or short texts. Or alternatively, you can use longer texts, but in those texts, you can delete only the words which are related to a particular topic so that you're practicing memorizing topical vocabulary. You can focus on collocations as well and on lexical chunks, but we'll talk about collocations a little bit later. Let me show you an example. And when I was preparing this exercise, I got one more idea, which this text was not meant for, but I will tell unless you get it yourselves. So here is a text. I nicked it from the British Council website from one of the stories. This is just one paragraph. So this is the story. What I'd like you to do is this. Could you please take a look at the story? Take 1 minute to read it. Not aloud, just read it. We would ask our students to read it aloud, of course. And then I'm going to show you on the next slide the story without a particular word, and we'll need to remember which word it was. Okay? Just tell me when you're ready, when you've read it. You can put a plus in the chat. Okay, so let's take a look at the next slide. One word is gone. Which word is it?
Spiders.
Yes, spiders. Okay, now there's another word which is gone. Which word is this?
Legs.
Legs, that's
Yes.
right. One more word is gone. Which one is it?
I
Eyes.
know.
Eyes,
Yeah.
that's right, and little red eyes. Okay, some more words are gone. So could you please read the sentence which begins with the words, but if one comes in the house?
But if one comes in the house, especially if it is one of those really big spiders with furry legs and little red eyes,
Then I go you and so on. Okay, thank you so much. Now, this is an extension of the exercise which I have just thought about. You could play a little bit with it, and you can ask your students what other words could be used in the gaps. Can you think of some other words which could be used here? Like, one of those really big
species.
species, okay. You can either think of synonyms, that's fine, or you can think of totally different words. For some reason, I thought of the word policeman. I have a friend who is afraid of policemen, and so on. If it's one of those really big policemen with and little, and something like this. So you can turn it into a fun activity. Only it's difficult to predict what words the students are going to use. But at the same time, they're going to focus on the syntax, and the stories may come to quite a funny end in the end. So that's another idea how you can use this exercise. And some more things. You can prepare a numbered list of familiar words, and nouns work best here, nouns and proper names. Here is a sample list. And then you can use the dice, because that's a numbered list, unless you use some other kind of number generator, so that it would be a choice not made by students, but it would be a random choice of words. So the students use the dice to choose 2 words, and then they need immediately begin telling a story, connecting both words together convincingly. It does not have to be a truthful story. It does not have to be long or complicated. But this is one of the things which I used as prompts to overcome writer's block. Or it can be used as an exercise to motivate students to speak more or to write more. Like, for example, what if you had the words bird and wheel? What kind of story could you use these 2 words together in? Who can try? So the trick here is, rather than letting the student think and prepare the story, is to ask them to start speaking immediately.
One day a bird sat on a wheel.
Okay, and we need to continue the story, so we need to say a few sentences. And the car ran it down. Sorry, I keep thinking of terrible things today for some reason. I
It
hope
was
that's
there.
not. Uh-huh.
I guess, well, if you have a more or less, I don't know, students with good imagination, you could add a word and ask a student to make the next sentence with this word.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And this will be easier for the students. Thank you so much for the idea. This will make it easier for the students because it will break the bigger task into smaller chunks, and it will be much more fun. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, now on to the next game. This is the so-called similarities and differences game, which helps the students to compare things. I use this exercise when I prepare my students for ЕГЭ. Because there they have to compare pictures. But rather than compare pictures, which is a boring task indeed, I use pairs of near synonyms, like, for example, a clock and a watch, a cafe and a restaurant, a house and a flat. I give the student 2 minutes to think of as many similarities and differences between these words as they can. Let's try to compare a clock and a watch to find the to tell how a clock and a watch are similar and different. Okay, we don't need to think for 2 minutes. I think we can do it on the spot. So, in what way is a clock similar to a watch?
They show time.
Yes, they both tell time. They show time. How else are they similar? So you see, it's not as easy as it sounds.
They have hands.
They have hands and they have a face. Okay. How else are they similar?
They have these numbers or like.
Okay,
Yeah,
they have numbers
actually,
on the face.
They have
Okay.
letter C.
Okay, both words have the letter C. That's brilliant because students don't normally think about such things, but this is very good analysis. Okay, and how are they different?
You wear watch on your hand.
Yes, on your wrist, and you cannot wear a clock. Okay, a clock is usually bigger than a watch, isn't it? How else can they be different? What about materials? Like, for example, most clocks are metal, and most watches are made from metal, and clocks can be made from plastic sometimes, or there are wooden clocks and things like that. So you can go on, and you can think of some synonyms, and you can use a synonyms dictionary to get some ideas. But my particular favorite is this game. This is the so-called word table. Do you ever use anything like this in your classes and in your lessons?
Yeah, I did it with my grown-up students. It was cool.
Yeah, I love this game because you ask the students to name as many words beginning with this letter as they can that falls into this category, and even primary students can do that. And you have no idea what words they may come up with sometimes. So let's take a look at this. Something in the living room, something in the bedroom that begins with the letter S. So can you name something else which you can find in the living room and that begins with the letter S?
Sushi.
Sushi. Okay. Yes, sometimes. What else?
like a screen from the
Yes,
TV
there can
set.
be a screen, like a TV screen. Okay. What else? One of my students once said socks. I said, okay, that depends on the habits, right? Anything else that is in the living room? Okay, what about the bedroom? What can you find in the bedroom that begins with the letter S?
Here I would say socks.
Socks, okay, what else? What about something
Sleeping
else that you can put on your feet?
slippers.
Slippers, well done. Or what do you call that thing which you put on your bed and that also begins with an S?
Sheet.
Sheet, that's right. What about that thing which you can wear and which also begins with an S? The second part of the word is
Sunglasses?
gown.
Yeah,
Sorry?
sleeping gown.
A sleeping gown, that's right. So you can help your students, but then they will come up with more and more and more things to say. So that's a fun game, and I really love using it. And my most favorite aspect of this game is that it requires no preparation. So all you need to do is think of the categories. They can be random categories like animals, furniture, food, clothes, country, or they can be related to something like, to one topic, the house. But it is the students who do most of the work, and you have fun. Another game or other activity, because it's not really a game, is the collocations practice, which also helps students to build up their vocabulary, but not on the level of individual words, but rather on the level of phrases. First, I normally explain to students that some words collocate with the word fast and others collocate with quick. And this is a very quick exercise, and the students are normally quickly tell me that the word fast collocates with food and train, and quick goes together with a meal and a shower, whatever that means. And then I give them such an exercise like this, where they need to fill the gaps. This is really a closed exercise, but if you look at the gaps, they are all based on very, very typical collocations. Who could read the first paragraph aloud, please, using filling in the gaps with the words which are suitable here? Who'd like to do it? Okay, let's do it this way. I will start reading, and could you please turn on your mics if you don't mind, and you just say the words, okay? So I met my ex-husband in 1995. We in love.
Fell in love.
Fell in love, that's right. And you see, we say the same word at the same time. So we, of course, we know all those collocations. We a fantastic relationship for 3
We
happy
had?
years. Had, that's right, because you can only have a relationship. You can't use any other. You wouldn't normally use other words. Then on our 3rd anniversary, he proposed, and we married 6 months later.
What?
Got married.
Got married, okay. There is another word which you could use here. Instead of got, what else could you say? It's we were married.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's fairly obvious, but the thing is that we are so used to thinking in collocations that it's difficult sometimes when two versions are possible. At first, everything was perfect. We both the housework together.
Did?
Did the housework, that's right. I the washing up and the beds.
I did the washing up and made the beds.
Made the beds, that's right. And he the cooking. He
Again,
did the cooking, yes, did the cooking, and there, and what do you think could go there after there? So the washing
Cleaning.
up, the beds, the cooking, and the cleaning, that's right, because that's also a very, very typical collocation. And if you read on, the task becomes easier and easier. Everything changed after a few years when he got a new job in Manchester. We made the decision to move there and so on. And really, you can use only very, very specific words here. But that's not something that the students would normally think about and would understand. So the next step with such exercises is something like this. We can play a collocation game, and in this table, some words can collocate only with one word on the opposite side of the table, and some words can take 2 or more collocations. So, for example, if you look at this, what can be free?
Free
Meal.
time.
A free meal, okay. What else?
Free time.
Free time, okay. Sometimes free work, sometimes, because sometimes we do work for free. That's called either volunteering or being a teacher. Okay. What about hard?
Hard work.
Hard work and
Time.
time. That's right. What about deep?
Deep sleep.
Deep sleep, and that's it. What about little?
Sister.
Little sister. Okay, what else?
Time.
Little time. That's right. What about flat?
Earth.
Flat
Sorry.
earth, but there is no earth here. Okay.
Tire.
And I really love how the flat earthers say, "Oh, all the world around knows about that." Okay, a flat tire. That's the only one. And what about light?
Meal, I guess. Light.
Yes, light meal and
Work.
no. Well, yes, it can be work. That's right. But work is normally easy. You don't normally say light work.
Yeah.
It's normally easy work. So you say, "Oh, that's an easy job to do. That's not hard work. That's quite easy." What about light? So there's one more word.
Light. Can you say light sleep?
That's right. You can say light sleep. Exactly. But even if the students don't know about that, they can guess because it sort of collocates with the same thing in Russian as well. And basically, here is a number of, well, here are two, which is more than one. So that's a number of free online collocation dictionaries, which you can use to create lessons and to create exercises. And what I really like about one of them, I think it's the first one, is this. If you enter a word like coffee, it shows you which words collocate with coffee and come before it, and which words collocate with coffee and come after it. So let's think of some words which you can normally use in word combinations with coffee, but before the word coffee. What are they?
Strong.
Strong coffee, okay. What else?
Black.
Black coffee, that's right. If we talk about black coffee, then we can certainly talk about what kind of coffee?
You mean white?
Yes, white coffee, exactly. Because you can say white coffee, that's normal collocation. What else can you use before the word coffee?
Hot.
Hot coffee, okay. How
Grab a
about,
coffee.
sorry?
Grab a coffee.
Okay, that's right. You can also say freshly ground coffee or Arabic coffee, or you can use all sorts of words. And what can you use after the word coffee?
Coffee break.
Break.
Coffee break, well done. That's a perfect word. I love coffee breaks. Unfortunately, it tells. What else can you use after the word coffee?
A coffee machine.
A coffee machine, okay. What
Coffee
about,
shop.
sorry?
Coffee
Coffee,
shop.
coffee shop, okay. A coffee cup, a coffee table, and coffee time, so which is also quite nice, quite lovely. All right, so basically, here are the 16 activities which I wanted to show you today. And which ones would you say are the easiest to use in our lessons? I mean, when you develop a lesson, which of these activities would be easiest for you to use?
Making negative sentences.
Making negative sentences, okay, because all you have to do is just write it in teacher's notes. All right. And which games would you say are the most useful ones? Either for you as lesson developers and materials developers, or either for you as teachers.
All of them, if you use them with the right audience.
Okay. Well, I was sort of hoping for this answer. Thank you so much. That means that I used my criteria correctly. And can you share any other vocabulary games which you like to use in online classes? And I'm going to take notes of them.
Well, the easiest one is snowball, I guess. Everybody used it. We all know
Okay.
what it is.
Is it when when you and your student make a story together?
Well, the easiest version is when you name objects. Like I start, I name one object. For example, we have a topic food. I say apple. The next person would be Christina, and she would say, Christina, help.
Apple, pear.
And the next person is Tanya.
Apple, pear, orange.
Okay, and so it goes. And the first student to forget a word or to repeat a word loses. So
Mhm. Okay, I see. I really love to use that, but I normally play it this way. I use a sentence to make it more difficult. Something like, "I went to the market and bought a," and then I name an object, and it doesn't have to fall into any categories. But before I do that, I explain to my students what techniques they can use to memorize a list of words which are not related to each other. That's when they try to imagine a picture in which they need to gradually fit one by one all these words. And then if they think of a picture, it makes it easier to remember a list of words which are totally unrelated. And I make sure that these words are unrelated because the students normally tend to think of some categories like, apples, pears, apricots, and so on. And I keep throwing into those categories totally different words like, a comb, a bicycle pump, something like that, to make things easier. So I guess I'm a wicked teacher in that way. Okay. Any other vocabulary games that you would like to share, that you like to use?
Maybe spy game with a picture. I
Oh,
can start with my little eye
mhm.
and some description of an object,
Something
any
beginning
object.
with
Yeah,
mhm,
or just something blue or any shape.
mhm. Okay. One of the games which you could probably use with your students, provided that you do not tell them the origin of this game, is this. If you want to revise names of animals, that's something that we did with a group of students from Britain. I was still a student then. We were sharing a flat back at my university. So one evening we had nothing better to do, but we sat down to table. There was a lot of beer. The British students used to buy beer every night, and by the morning it was gone mysteriously. But anyway, they suggested we played animals. So each of us needed to mime an animal, making a sound or just miming it, like, this is an elephant, something like this, or this is a monkey. And then uh, we would play it like this. Somebody had to start. They would show an animal and nominate somebody else. That person whom he nominated needed to name the animal, like, for example, say, "Oh, it's a monkey." Then show his or her own animal and nominate somebody else, so that they would need to name this animal. And this was surprisingly difficult, especially after a couple of beers, because you kept thinking of the word which you heard, but not of the image that you saw, especially because the images were quite weird. I don't know if you would like to play such a game in an online class, but if you want to have fun, this can work. Or if you're working with a group of students, this could probably work as well. Okay, thank you so much. We are running out of time because in 15 minutes we need to go back to our learning lab and talk about the projects which we're doing together. And Jan is member of that learning group. So thank you so much for coming to this session and to sharing the games and telling about the games that you use. I'm going to upload the video. I hope the video works, and the presentation after I have corrected a couple of typos that I've noticed on the slides. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
thank
you.
you. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, is there anything that you would like me to prepare for our meeting in the next couple of weeks? Like, writing games, I don't know what else, or discussion games, something like this.
Maybe something including speaking, how to
Speaking
develop.
activities.
Yes.
Okay, agreed. I will try to put together a list of speaking activities which can be easily used in online classes, and then we can meet in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye bye.